Well, hello everybody and welcome back to Darkstorm Rising. Ian here. The days have just been flying. I've been so busy recently and I thought, I haven't done a video. Quick, to the table. So we're going to go back to the Carnifex. We are going to get the head finished today. I think we need to focus on that, get it done. That's going to lure me through to wanting to do more. I don't know if I'm going to finish in time, but I really would like to do some sort of Halloween special. But even if it's with the Carnifex, we'll do something. In the meantime, let's get over there. Let's get some more painting done. So this is as far as we've got so far. I think the head is looking quite nice actually. So far the tongue's looking great. Some nice shading on there, really happy. So let's crack on. I'll just do a quick reminder of the colours we're using. So there is Vallejo Black, that's obviously sat there. We are going to be using Vallejo Dark Green, Lime Green, Yellow Green, and Pale Sand. So what we're going to do is we're going to work first of all on these plates on the top, and then we're going to blend in the flesh tones across here, and then we're going to get all of these spines are done on the tusks and on the tongue, and then we may just work the neck in as well if we have time. So without further ado, let's get painting. So I don't know if you remember, but in the last clip we did all of the body work and the tusks in the dark green, so we now need to work that in on the plates as well. So we'll take a tiny little bit of black and a ton of green. The dark green is really dark green to start with anyway, so this will be virtually black once you let it dry and it's finished. So I'm literally going to cover most of the plate, any area that I want a little bit darker, so the backs of these plates and the beginning of the next plate, I'm going to leave most of it this dark green, but just a little bit at the base there, look, where there is a bit of black remaining. So you can see there. And what we'll do, and just where you can see that little dent in the armour, don't paint into it, just around it will be fine, because that will exaggerate it when we come to doing the next section. But I'll do all the rest of the plates and then we'll come back. So that's all the plates on the head caught up. We've now got, like, you can see there very clearly, if you look at the base of each of the plates, there's a black gap. I've deliberately not let the paint dry too thoroughly so you can see clearly. And you can now see that it blends in with the green we've already got on the tusks. So this green is a week old, this is brand new. I'm going to let that dry a little bit and then we're going to apply the next shade up to reactivate the old stuff, but also to blend in the new stuff as well, so that it will all look uniform. And the other thing we've got to do is we've got to blend these flesh tones out into the green, so I've got to make that look convincing as well. So that's our next step. I'll just let that dry a little bit and then we'll come back. So I've deliberately given that 2 or 3 minutes to dry, not a great deal of time at all. We're not using any exciting brush, this is just a cheap, I think they work out to about 50 or 60p. It's a 3.0, it's seen a fair bit of battle already, so it's nothing exciting or posh. But the next step we're going to do is the pure green itself, which is still a very dark colour when you get it on the model. Let's bring that in close so you can see. And then we're just going to run that try and create a little bit of striping, a little bit of striation in there. Okay, we'll just work that. So I'm leaving quite a decent bit dark, and I've decided not to go for the edges. I'm coming just to the highlights, and because it's going to be darker on the border near the face, what it's going to do is it's going to make the face pop a little bit more because we're giving it a really dark border to work along with. It'll just make it look a little bit more sinister. So those little stripes, we're just going to carry those all over. And on the top of the head, what I've decided to do is these gullies down the sides here, they're going to be dark. So what we're going to do is just work gently from and just pull some lines. Avoid that little break in the plate there, because that'll emphasize how dark it is and it'll make it pop as we do lighter colours. And then again the crests, but I'll work them right from the front. We're going to have a sharp bright line across the top there when we get to it. And again I'm going to work that technique all around the rest of the plates. And when we come to doing the skin, so we are now going to reactivate the skin. What I'm going to do is probably around about, and just touching where the higher muscle tones are, I'm just going to do probably around maybe about a 90%, 80% touch up, just leaving the areas of blackness, the shaded deep recesses. I'm going to leave those. I'm going to leave those in the dark, very dark green with the black mix, and just go around the whole model. And when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about the undersides as well. So I will tell you when we stop painting undersides. But I think it's important to get a colour laid down over the whole of the model to give you some impression of continuity across the model. And then as you come to the higher tones where the light would bounce, that's when we're going to start cutting down on where we hit. Probably on the underside, probably dropping to about 60% coverage instead of the 80 to 90% coverage that we're doing on the top here. And that just means that the dark areas will obviously, surprisingly, look darker. Alright, so I'll go around the rest of the model and get that done. Now, at the moment you can see that the green's been applied and it looks a bit shiny because the paint's still a bit wet. But at the moment we're not really seeing a great transition in colour, and that's unfortunately part of the consequence of sort of layering properly. And it is a very gradual transition, and if you do brisk transitions you just don't get that subtleness. So our next step is to take some of the dark green and some of the lime green. Now, in earlier videos I have told you that one of the best things to do is not to use your main painting brush as a mixing brush to save the bristles. So I'm completely going against what I've told you in the past, but this is a very old brush and it's very cheap, so I don't mind giving it a little bit of a battering. So the next thing to do is we need to now pick out, now the brush needs, that's quite loaded, so what we'll do is we'll get rid of a bit of the paint and then we'll come back to the miniature, and I've got to try and get in here in that tiny little angle between the tusks and the scything talon, and just try and just scrape a line up that edge which you can see appearing. We'll then go back to the paint, and what we're going to do is we're going to just draw on very gently. Let's try and get a better picture for you there. just see I'm slowly layering on the paint onto that first panel. It is quite thin. I'm deliberately not putting too much on. And as I get more paint on, I'm working more and more to the edge. Okay, I'll just run that line back down. Okay, and I think we'll just push it a little bit deeper onto the plate to give me some room to work with the next colour. And what will happen as this dries, just get back in focus for you. Come on, camera. There we go. As this dries, because I haven't let the previous coat dry very much, the two colours will blend in together, and where I've done less active paint, further into the plate where it's darker, that will darken up a little bit more than it is now. So I'm in danger of, because the paint is drying as I'm painting and I'm doing layers, I'm in danger of now, if I keep painting, what's going to happen is I'm going to start pulling off the old layers. So I'm going to stop there. I'm going to do that process on every other plate. And I'm also going to do the process on the skin, so I'll just show you that as well. So I've just cleaned my brush to get some of the paint off because it's starting to dry on the brush. And then what we're going to do is the higher areas on the tusks, we're going to now start to touch a bit less and try and blend some of this paintwork into the flesh tones that are already there. And when you're looking at the front of the flesh that joins onto the tusk, we want to catch that because that's going to be quite a bright colour in the future. So I've just cut the front edge of it, and if we just try and get a better angle, you can see that the green I'm working on is just literally going on all these higher areas in lines to give it a sort of like a muscle toned effect, which will build up as we do more and more layers. And I'm going to work around and do the plates like I did that first one, and I'm going to work around all the rest of the flesh as I'm doing here, catching the highlights, leaving those dark recesses dark, and we'll carry on all the way around the model. Well, sorry, not all the way around the model, all around the head section. I have started to darken up the throat as well, so I will carry on into the throat and we'll get that whole head section done. I'll be back in a few moments. Okay, so we've got the background colour done, and now we want to work on just the lime green, and we want to try and get some really thin lines to give us the effect that we're really after now. So let's see if we can get that. So just gentle strokes. And that you try not to make them even as well. Try to keep them uneven in length. Take that just the same as before. We'll take that all the way up the length of the plate. Let's get a bit more colour on. little lines all the way. Go over some of the ones we've done. Put a little bit of shine at this front prominence. There we go. And then what we're going to do is work our way down the plates, doing exactly that same process. And again, we're going to work our way around all the plates and do that. And on the skin, we're just going to cover highlights. So again, that ridge across the top of the mandible there. Just catch a few little bits. And then up onto the, so it is literally just catching where the light would be, and down on the top of those ridges, ones are here. And we're just trying to catch all those edges and just create a bit of depth. And we'll just come on to that front edge there, just cover that a bit better. And bring that through, blend it in with the pink. And then come onto this little bit here. And just any surface area where there's a little bit of a higher level, just catch that. And then across there as well, just catch that edge. And so now we can start to see he's coming alive. So I'll go around the rest of the model and then I'll come back when I've got that done. So on the neck sections, just to give a little bit increased depth, I'm going to go back to our on colour, get a little bit of that on, and just go over the sections on the neck. Just bring them a little bit higher in colour. Just on the prominences. And then what we'll do is we'll go back in again with the colour that we're working with, the lime green, and just be really gentle as we go, and just give, and it needs to be a followed line all the way along, and then again on these prominences on the bone here. And it just gives that increased perception of depth to the miniature. And just increases the illusion of that bend in the neck there. It's not an illusion, there really is a bend in the neck there, but it just really exaggerates and makes it a pronounced feature that you really do see, rather than it just being all one colour and it sort of blends and you lose that distinction. So I'm going to work around the rest of the model. We're starting to come together now. And once we get the final highlight on, this is going to really look a lovely piece. But let's get back to finishing off the lime green all the way around, and then I'll come back. So our little friend is starting to come together, and now we're going to go for the highlights. So we swap over to the yellow green. Just clean the brush and get it to a reasonably fine point. And then what we're going to do is all the green that we've just gone over to bring a bit of a highlight on, we're really going to just emphasize that and just really make the edges of it pop. Just try and get it to focus on the right area. And then just some tiny little streaks. Let's just alter my light a little bit because it's just, I think it's just catching the reflection just a bit too much. There we go. So let's just re-clean the brush, and we'll just go back in there and just tidy up a little bit. Okay, on to the next panel. I'm trying to create a little bit of a depth to the line so that it's not just a clean, smooth tone. I want it to look a little bit hashed, which is sort of the look for the whole army, to be honest. So it's trying to get that uniformity. And the occasional line can extend beyond the border that we created with the last colour, and it just gives us a little bit of a broken feel to the pattern and a bit more of an organic feel. So the light would strike on the nose here, so we will just tiny dot of colour. And then on the back end of the first section, just there's a little broken bit there that we'll ignore. And then come right up onto these outer ridges, making sure they're nice and bright. And then what we'll do is we'll carry that theme on all the way through the rest of the panels. There's not that many left to do. And on the skin tones, it is literally now just catching the extreme highlights. So we'll just catch on there. A few little blobs on here just to catch. And then on the upper surfaces here. And just making those upper surfaces pop. A lot less on the bottom side, just a little touch here and there just to emphasise. The throat, we'll just finish off making the borders of the throat really just pop out a little bit. Tiny little reinforcements on the line of the throat. Just to get that, so as we look at it from a distance, it really does give you that aspect of 3D. So I'll work around the rest and then I'll be back. Okay, so that's all the flesh tones done. That's really getting him to pop nicely, but the thing that's really going to make him pop is when we get all those white tusks and teeth done, and then the face will really shine. So let's crack on with that. So first colour is going to be Rhinox hide. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a liberal coat of Rhinox hide over the full length. Well, actually no, I'm going to leave a little bit of black at the base, but I'm going to get Rhinox hide virtually the full length of every single one of these tusks and the vine in the mouth and the teeth. Okay. Right, so I'm literally going to work the way around doing all of them brown, and then I'll come back. Right, so that's everything painted a nice rich brown. So the next step is to start to come up towards, slowly but surely, to ivory. But first of all, do more brown. And what we'll do is around about 80 to 90% coverage of what we've already done. Now this brush really probably isn't quite as thin as I would like for this work, but I think I did here, we've started so we finished somewhere. And it doesn't need to be uniform. In fact, it looks better if it's not a smooth transition. If there's like little patinations in the colour. Try and get an angle so you can see as well as me. And again, I'll do all of them in that style and then I'll come back. Okay, so that's all the brown coverage ready. All the Doombull is painted on. And then on to the next step, which will be Japanese Uniform World War II by Vallejo. That's already on the palette and mixed with a tiny little bit of the Doombull brown already. Just to blend it onto the colour that we've already got on there. And then we'll just make sure we haven't got too much on the brush. And run it down that edge. And same as before, the lines aren't too tidy because we want to make it look like it's a growing thing, so it tends not to be symmetrical. It tends to be that the lines aren't quite perfect. Better coverage as we get towards the end of the horn. Just wipe off a bit of the excess. And with the teeth, it's very much a cheaty technique. So all you do is wipe a fair bit off the brush and then just gently stroke along the teeth with the edge of your brush. And that should give you fairly good coverage. And then we'll go and tidy up as we go along. I'll do that and come back in a moment. So the horn work is starting to come together now. The next colour we're going to go to is going to be Bone White. Again, a Vallejo colour. And this time we're going to try and get some quite thin lines on the model. I'm not sure this brush is going to allow me, but I'm going to carry on with this brush anyway. But we'll see what we can manage. So, and also at this angle. Okay, so from the tip, okay, that's looking okay. And then we're going to literally do that all the way, all around all of these tusks and teeth. but you can see just leaving little breaks in there, so it's not perfect. And then when we get to the tip, just nice strong bold ivory, and I'll work around those and then come back once all they're done. Right, well, it's now starting to look a bit more the business. It's starting to look pretty cool. So there's one thing I want to do before I put on the final highlights, and that's I want to re-emphasize the base and blend in a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some Army Paint Strong Tone, give it a good shake. And then I'm going to put that on the base of all of the teeth and around the base of the bone. So, and it'll just emphasize where the shadows are. Just try and get, oh, come on teeth, get in focus. That's better. So if you just watch as I just drop it in, it just runs into the gaps between the teeth and re-emphasises where the teeth are. But it also blends in the bases as well. So if you just watch it go on these front teeth, if I apply right across, you can see how it just drops into the bases of the teeth, gives it a nice brown tonal hue, and defines the teeth and the jawline better. There's just so much going on in the face for it to focus on. There you go. And again, just the same there. And you can, if you look at the top jaw and the bottom jaw, you can see the very much there's a difference there. And when I drop this paint in onto that bottom jaw, you'll see with a little bit of capillary action, it's actually pulled up the teeth, but automatically you get that black line, you get the nice brown yellow tinge to the base of the teeth. It's a lovely tool to use. And on the base of the bones, just exactly the same. On these mandibles, just run it around the base, but also up on a little bit up onto the bone. Push it down into the base, wherever you run it from. And again, you can see that it gives you that lovely tonal hue. We'll do it again here on the tongue. So you've got quite a bland transitional border. As soon as we drop it in, it virtually does all the shading for us. Compare that to the other side before I do anything to it. Same thing again. And it is really quite a pronounced effect. So I'll just finish off with that, and then we'll come back once it's had a chance to dry and put the final effect on. Right, so I think he is looking really like he's coming alive now. I'm just going to put some highlights on the teeth with I'm going to use the Pro Acryl Bright Ivory. Now, especially with this brush, I'm going to have to be just a little bit more careful. This brush is just a little bit too thick for all this work. And I know I've got about 3 pots full of brushes that I could change to, but I just want to work with it as soon as I've started with it. that's better. Okay. Sorry about that. It's just, there's just so much going on in this face. It just tries to focus all over the place. My fault for being too keen with the model and putting so much detail on it. There, that's just really just brightened up the edge of that. And I'll do the rest, and then the final bit will be to put some dots in the eyes, and that should be the face looking ready for battle. Well, that is about done. Literally just a dot to put in the eye now, which doing it at this range will be interesting. So, okay, and there we have him, ready for the battlefield, if I get the rest of the body done. So next time, I think what we'll do is we'll do the claws and the talons, or all the way around, the claws and the talons, and look at the effects on those. And then I think we'll just revisit plates and skin, but very briefly in another video, as we've done it sort of in the head already. And then I think by that time there's not a lot else to mention, and it will just be literally showing you the finished miniature. Rawr. Okay. Well, that wasn't bad at all. I think it took me around about 2 hours to do, to paint everything, not including drying times, actual just painting time. But I think it's come out really well. Just need to get the rest of the body done, which we'll do over the next couple of videos, and maybe even fit in a Halloween special. Don't know what I'm going to do there yet. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do like and subscribe. And are we painting minis yet? Hell yeah! I'll catch you in the rest of the body.